So if you got $100,000 to spend on marketing tomorrow, would you know where to put it? And so most companies are guessing, not just HVAC, but most companies, right? And guessing can be expensive. And so here I want to show you how to calculate the true CPL, right? And then also how to see the most value from the CPL. And so let's get started. What we need is this data set here. And what it shows is things like, date that you got the lead, where they came from, existing or new client, the job type, the sub-job type, location, and then you could have your cost. And oftentimes, referrals isn't going to have a cost. And then you're going to have things like revenue, things like gross margin percentage, gross profit. And so the only thing we have to calculate from this data set is the month and the year. And there's a good chance your data set might have it. And if it has a date stamp like this, then it's super easy to get, and I'll show you how. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the text function here. You can choose one, comma, and then 4 M's. And then the next thing we're going to do is the same function text, but this time 4 Y's. And so that's how you can get, strip out the year and the date from a date field. And so I'm going to delete this because we already have it here. I use these to create the completed solution here. And so the next thing we need is we need a unique list of what we just created, the month and the year in, in the proper order. And then we want a list of all of the marketing channels at the top. And so I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing, to get the month and the year, just go to equals unique, and then you can highlight the range, and then you have that here. I'm going to copy this and then paste as values. Okay, so now across here, what we want to get the unique list sorted alphabetically of the marketing channel. And so I'll show you 3 functions. The first one is unique, and then we know the table name is table leads, so then we're going to do channel, comma, and then actually that's it. And so we have everything here. But the next thing we want to sort this alphabetically. So sort, and then that's done. And then finally, we want this across the row and not, in the column. So that's going to be the transpose function. And that's exactly how you want it. Okay, I'm just going to copy this here and then press Control-Shift-V again to paste. And then I'm going to center everything. Okay, so now how do we calculate cost per lead, right? So we need to sum the lead cost here and then divide that by the count of the leads, right? Meaning, sum this base for Angie, and then here, and then divide for the number of times Angie shows up for January 2025. And so we'll just do one step at a time. So equals, we want to sum if. So sum if S, again, everything's in the table. So what was it called? Lead cost. That's the column we want to sum. And then we want to do it for the table where the month is here, comma, the table where year is here, comma, and the table where channel is here. And so this is just saying we spent $1,760 on Angie ads for January 2025. But now what we have to do is we have to divide this by how many leads are there for Angie 2025, January 2025. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to divide and then paste. And I'm going to strip out this right here because we're not summing this. And then I'm going to type in COUNTIFS. So we want to count if, the month is January, the year is 2025, and the channel is D2, which is Angie. And so now you can see it's $160 per lead was our average cost for January 2025. Okay, so now I want to drag this over and drag this down, but you can't because of referencing. Right now it's relative referencing. So you can see as you drag it down, the cell you tied it to also comes down. So we have to fix that. And you can do a thing called absolute referencing at the row level and at the column level. And so you use dollar signs to do that. So if you want to lock the column like January, meaning as you drag it over, it doesn't change, then you need to put the dollar sign before the letter. And you can also, press the F4 key to cycle through these. But we want it before anywhere we want the column to stay the same as we go left to right, which is all of these. But for the row, we want to do a dollar sign in the middle, like before the row, before the number. And now you still can't drag it, but you can copy and paste. And you can't drag because of the tables. But if you copy and paste here, oh, I messed up somewhere. Let's see. Yep. I didn't do the first Angie right here. Copy, paste. And what you'll notice is that, these don't have costs. And it makes sense, right? Organic search has no cost. I mean, you could put in like SEO cost if you wanted to, but it's very hard to track that. And referral also has no cost, direct in email. So I'm just going to delete all these that are 0. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to actually here, let me do this one. I want to do an overall, meaning what was our average cost per lead for Angie, for in the data set. So you can just copy any of these formulas here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to strip out the month and the year. Just like earlier, wherever we stripped out the revenue, the things like the lead cost. And so stripping out the month and the year starts right here. So right there, and then this here. And then copy, hold down the shift key, and then paste. And this tells you what your overall cost per lead is. And so on the surface, you would think, oh, like I need to put way more money into Facebook. And the answer is like maybe, right? Because you don't know how much money you're making from Facebook. Meaning, you need to calculate what is your gross profit for Facebook versus your lead cost, right? And so that's what we can calculate next. But the first thing I want to show you before then is how to highlight with conditional formatting. Meaning, let's just say we want something like $150. So if any of these is above 150, then we want it to turn a certain color. So I'm going to highlight everything, hold down Control to highlight overall, go to Home, Conditional Formatting, highlight cells greater than 150. And you'll see it's all Angie. And the thing is, that might not be bad. I'll show you here in just a second. But if you were to do, say, let's see, 100, then you can see Google, because Google Ads, Facebook, and Yelp is cheaper, pretty much all the way across. Okay, so to find the actual value of this KPI, what we need to do is we need to calculate how much money did you spend versus how much money did you make, right? And so we can do that. We can say, ad spend, and then we can say GP, and then we can call it, ROAS, return on ad spend. Most people do ROAS at the revenue level, top line level. We're going to do it at the gross profit level. And so what we want to do here is we want to do the sum of Angie. So I'm going to, again, copy this, equals. But now we're not going to divide anything because we're dividing by the count of the number of leads, right? But we don't want that. We want just the amount of money spent, total in the data set. So we have that here. So now we have this part. So the next thing is, what is our gross profit? Not our revenue. What is our gross profit? And this is assuming that you're not putting your marketing costs in gross profit, because gross profit should be after your cost of goods sold and before, your OPEX, essentially. And so the way we do this is we equal SUMIFS. We know it's in the table. We know it's gross profit USD, comma, and then we want to do table again for leads, and then the channel. And then from there, we can just click up here. And now you have your gross profit attributed to Angie. Copy, paste that over. And so now this is giving you a better picture, because yeah, it's only $45 a lead, but are you making, more money? So what we can do here is, what I'll do is equals, this divided by this, and then paste. So this is the picture that, that you want to paint. And so in the end, this is cheaper because for every dollar you're putting in to Facebook ads, you're making $7, right? Gross profit, right? So you put in $100, you're making $714. And so you can see here that this is actually your most valuable. And then this is your second, and then, third, fourth, fifth. And the thing is that it really just depends on, you'd have to look at what are you running ads for? What are your Facebook ads for? It could be for, more expensive or less expensive items. What's your Angie, Home Advisor ads cost, or the purpose of the ad, because it's not always going to be like, okay, we got a lead, but is it a lead from a special or a promotion you're running, or is it a lead that is for something else, right? Or maybe you're retargeting people. And so, but anyways, so that's, oh, here, one last thing. I want to show you how to add a word here. I just noticed that. So what you might want to have a word here like benchmark, or like maybe not benchmark, but threshold, and then 100. But nothing's going to highlight because now this is text. And so we want this to have the word threshold and 100, but we don't want it to be stored as text. And so if you press Control-1 to get the format cell dialog box, custom, and then quotations, threshold, :space, quotations, now it's stored as a numerical value, and you can do, 50, 60, 75, and you can just sort of see that way. But anyways, so if you have any questions on this, shoot me an email, questions@databoards.io. If you need some help, structuring your data in a way that's usable like this, then let me know. But it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you could add custom fields into like Service Titan. You can create integrations from your lead sources to automatically fill, say, Google Sheets or a spreadsheet. Or you could just, if you're getting, 12 leads a day, just have somebody manually enter in this data. It doesn't take much time, and the amount of value you can get will more than pay for itself. But if you need some help with that, just let me know. If you want the file, there's a link to download. You can let me know if you need some help by emailing me, or there's a link to hop on my calendar. But if not, then I will see you in future videos.